Greetings and salutations. It is I, Mr. Nothing, the museum curator of the weird and the strange, and the host who might be Batman. Welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I talk about all the unusual and out of the ordinary literature that I have found in my travels throughout Gotham City. Today, I wanted to talk about a graphic novel that I have just read. It features superheroes, mobsters, and weirdly dressed clown criminals. I am talking about Batman, The Long Halloween, the complete omnibus collection by Jeph Loeb and Tim Sale. Covers pretty standard. You got Batman doing Batman things, and on the back you have praise and short description of what might be happening during all of this. So I really enjoy superheroes and supervillains, reading about them and just thinking about them and playing video games about them. But I have never really read comic books before. Some from time to time, but I've never been big into comic books. It's just never something I've had an opportunity to be a part of, to read. Part of growing up in rural Iowa, it's hard to gain access to comic books, as the nearest comic book store, is probably miles and miles away. Not really accessible, especially in the early days of the internet, when the comic book people didn't really have their comic books online yet. Whereas now there's an entire service where you can get access to comic books, which is pretty neat. And also I happen to really like Batman. I've watched the TV shows, the movies, and I've played the video games. I recently just finished playing the Arkham series, Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Knight, and I really love that series. It's a bunch of fun to play. And since I figured that it was, we're in Ocpoeber, the month of the spooky, why not go for a graphic novel featuring a spooky superhero of sorts as he tries to take down the mob and whatnot. I'm going to be talking about The Long Halloween. I will try to avoid major spoilers in the summary section, but in the analysis section, it will be free reign. If you just want to go to the analysis section for that sweet spoilery bit, I'll put the thing right there. It'll be, pretty cool to talk about that. So here we go. The Long Halloween starts with Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne is at a wedding for one of Carmine Falcone. He's known as the Roman. He is having, one of his relatives is having a wedding, and Bruce and him are having a discussion about, how Falcone would like to expand his interest out of Gotham, and that requires access to the bank. But because Bruce is on the board of the bank, he doesn't want Falcone, who is criminal interest, to be involved in any way, to money launder, essentially. They had that discussion, and it sort of seems like there's a connection between Bruce Wayne and Falcone that really haunts both of them throughout the rest of the graphic novel, all 13 parts. But it's not really specified until later. At the same time, Harvey Dent, who is the commissioner at the time, tries to sneak his way into the party, but Falcone finds him and has him beaten, roughed up, and then sent on his way. Harvey and Jim Gordon later meet on a rooftop with Batman, and they all make a plan in Chapter 1 to take down Carmine Falcone, because he is a mob boss and he's responsible for a lot of the crime in Gotham. And so they all want to take him down. And Harvey is against working with Batman because he works outside of the law. But ultimately they decide that this is the only way that they can stop stop the Falcone and the mob once and for all. Yeah, that's a successful pact going on right there. Batman and Harvey do work together to burn Falcone's shipment of, or Falcone's like collection of, not collection, but like his vast wealth of money that he's not being able to launder right now because Bruce controls the bank. And so, like, that action causes reparations in that the mob tries to blow up Harvey Dent's house with his wife in it. Luckily, they are able to get free and not die in the process, but they're not able to take down the criminals who did it because the Falcones can just buy off all of Gotham, the judges and the police, so there's no real sense of justice to be found there. Around this time, the press is taking hold of like a criminal who seems to be targeting the mob during holidays. Batman tries to figure out if it's Calendar Man, but he's locked away in Arkham Asylum with no chance to get free. So the press is dubbing them Holiday, and Batman is trying to figure out who is Holiday before a full-scale mob war breaks out. And so yeah, like he's pinpointing like what holidays this gunman might show up upon. And so far he's killed someone with connections to the bank, and he's killed the bodyguard associated with Carmine Falcone. So he's making it real personal. And Carmine suspects that it might be Salvatore Maroni, a rival businessman. But Maroni keeps declaring his innocence, and it really seems like there's no way that it could be him. Eventually, the fact that this killer keeps doing murders and whatnot, it catches the attention of the more fancy criminals, the super criminals of Gotham, such as Joker. Joker is like, there's only room for one homicidal maniac in Gotham, and it's gonna be me. So he's on the lookout for Holiday, but Batman manages to stop him, but not before he attempts to steal a plane and gas a bunch of people on New Year's Eve, which doesn't pan out for him. Holiday on New Year's Eve manages to kill Alberto Falcone, who is Carmine Falcone's son. What's interesting about this is Alberto wasn't associated with the family business. He went to college and he was viewed as the good son. So it comes to a bit of a shock to Carmine, and now he's like, I gotta figure out who's doing this. They're getting on my last nerve, and they're causing a lot of havoc and trouble, and I will kill anyone who this turns out to be. And so while this mob war is brewing and kind of breaking out in the streets, Bruce is targeted by Poison Ivy under Carmine Falcone's orders to distract him while Carmine does his various illegal business dealings. Luckily, Catwoman is able to move his mind elsewhere and prevent Poison Ivy from doing further damage to his reputation. So there's a relationship between Catwoman and Batman also forming throughout the course of the story, although it's a bit unclear to Batman why Catwoman is doing what she's doing and whose side she's really on. Carmine even recruits the Riddler to find out who is killing all his people, essentially. And the Riddler offers a lot of guesses, but he can't figure out who it quite is. And Batman is also trying to make a bunch of guesses, and they can't figure out anyone who it specifically is. Carmine kicks Riddler out of his hideout, and Holiday fires several warning shots that don't hit Riddler but scare him. So it's like anyone who is close to figuring out who Holiday is on the bad list. And at this time, Dent starts to suspect that Bruce Wayne may have some role to play in who Holiday is. And so, Gordon doesn't believe that it might be Bruce Wayne, but he's going along with Dent because it's their only lead at this point. closer to Mother's Day in May at this point, because it's a year-long cycle. Scarecrow escapes from Arkham Asylum, and the resulting fear gas kind of poisons Bruce's mind for the next month. So during Mother's Day and Father's Day, he has sort of flashbacks to his time spent with his mom and his dad, and he's once again reliving the murders that took place. And when the police approach him while he's at the cemetery, like grieving for his mom, he runs away. Bruce does, not Batman specifically. And then the next month, the police finally catch him, and the police are like, "What is your father's connection with the Falcone family?" And Bruce lays it out that years ago, Thomas Wayne saved the life of a young Carmine Falcone. And the Falcone family has sort of always been in the Wayne family's dead as a result of this, much to their chagrin. This is all during like a sort of grand jury sort of trial thing, and it proves Bruce's innocence. However, that Harvey Dent isn't really happy with that. He placed all his bets on it being Bruce Wayne, and it turned out to be not the case. So he's sinking further into like this, I've got to end this mob war, I got to put Carmine Falcone away. My life and my family's life, they're at risk, and he's getting more desperate as the days go by. Batman eventually manages to stop Scarecrow, who's working with the Mad Hatter to do some evil 4th of July holiday shenanigans. Meanwhile, the Holiday Killer is killing coroners and the sister of Carmine Falcone for not really clear reasons why, especially because the coroner was a citizen rather than a member of the mob. So it seems like the Holiday Killer is trying to close loose ends, and it's not really clear who the Holiday Killer is, although Batman feels that he is getting closer to figuring it out. Eventually, the Holiday Killer kills Salvatore Maroni, his father. And so Maroni approaches Harvey Dent and is like, "Okay, you want information about Carmine Falcone? I believe him to be connected to the Holiday Killer somehow. So please, let's work together. I'll testify against him, and you can have everything you need to put away Carmine Falcone." Unfortunately, this proves to be a trap, and at the trial, Maroni throws acid in the face of Harvey Dent, thus scarring him on one side. And when they go to the hospital, they find out that Harvey has escaped, and he isn't. He's trying not to be found, and his mind has clearly been scarred by the fact that like this heavy trauma, and he's not doing well is what I'm trying to get at there. So as September and October approach, Maroni is being moved to another part of the prison, and that is when the Holiday Killer strikes again, and their identity gets revealed. What happens after that, and who is the Holiday Killer? Well, I'll let you find that out. It's worth a read because it's so interesting, and like it kept me enthralled, and I believe it'll keep you enthralled if you are a fan of good detective or adventure stories. I'll probably talk more about like who the killer is and the analysis section, but that is all I'm giving you right now. So in terms of analysis, there's a lot of stuff to talk about here. The first thing I want to point out is the beautiful panel art that comes along with this graphic novel. It's very beautiful. A lot of the times it's amazingly minimalistic, where all you see is the outline of Batman's cowl. Or just some figures talking on a rooftop. And at other times it gets amazingly complex, detailed, with like Joker's weird devilish grin, and Catwoman and Batman fighting on a rooftop. It's pretty magnificent, and I feel like a large part of why this is so good is because of the panel art. And if it wasn't as good, I think it would kind of, make this not worth reading or checking out. I feel like that's a large part of the graphic novel's appeal. And I'll probably be putting up some pictures I took of the art. Also look online just so you can get a feel for what to expect. But make sure you don't get any spoilers, because that would be quite sad if you weren't looking for spoilers in the process. I also love how this is an epic gauntlet for Batman. Over the course of a year, he fights many of his of the favorites in his rogue gallery, including Poison Ivy, Joker, Two-Face, who shows up near the end, because once Harvey becomes scarred, he is Two-Face, and he even announces himself as such. And he fights Catwoman, a whole bunch of those people, and it's just a never-ending, year-long battle for him, a long Halloween, if you will. And it's not only a struggle for Batman in terms of this; it's a struggle for Jim Gordon and the good cops at the Gotham City Police Department, and even Harvey Dent. Like, they are struggling to take down not only Holiday, but also the mafia, the mob, who has connections everywhere and can't seem to be stopped. And there's a brewing mob war between the Maronis and the Falcones that doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon. And it pushes Batman to the edge, but it clearly pushes Dent to the edge, because like he's willing to go to extreme risks to take down this threat that he believes is harming the good of Gotham. Because there's the bad of Gotham and the good, and Dent believes that you can possibly rise above the bad. Associated with that, I really enjoy Dent's fall from grace throughout the story. You have Dent at the start of the story, a picture-perfect commissioner who's working to bring down the bad people in Gotham, all the criminals. And he's a little hesitant to work with Batman because he's dirty. He does things outside of the law. But eventually he starts to work with Batman, willing to go beyond the law in order to take down someone who feels that they are beyond the law. However, I feel like that doesn't work out for him so well, because it kind of hurts his relationship with his wife. They get attacked multiple times, and he has to keep taking increasingly risky and kind of dirty actions in order to even the score against Holiday and the Maroni and Falcone. So ultimately it doesn't turn out so well for him, because he gets acid thrown in his face, and he's not able to take down Falcone in the way that he wants, because at the end of the story, he and the other villains corner Falcone and are like, we're taking over Gotham. Gotham is going to be ours now, symbolizing the breakaway from the mob control of Gotham to the supervillain control of Gotham. And ultimately, Dent manages to kill Falcone and another character who is responsible for the acid getting thrown in his face. Dent turns to the dark side, so to speak. He can't combat the darkness for long before he becomes part of the darkness. Unlike Batman, and you can even argue that Batman himself is part of the darkness, because he is willing to break limbs and use threats to get where he wants to go. And I know there's that whole cliche, like, what makes Batman any different from the mob? And like, Batman is different from the mob, but he still uses their tactics to win. One of the few things that I didn't like is the ending with the whodunit of who Holiday is. At first, it's revealed to be Alberto Falcone, who faked his death and then killed the coroner so they couldn't find out, and then killed I think his mother so that she wouldn't find out either, which is fine. That's believable. Like, out of the mob, a super criminal is formed, and that shows the transition going on there. However, eventually it's revealed that maybe Falcone or Alberto was kind of insane and doesn't know what he's admitting to. So, it might be that Harvey Dent committed some of the holiday killings, and even Gilda, his wife, might have committed some of the killings, which I feel that is a twist that doesn't quite make sense and is meant there to be shocking more than anything else. It would make sense that Gilda would try to take on some of the burden in order to take it off Harvey, but it makes more sense for it to be Alberto than anything else, and it just comes off a little like M. Night Shyamalan-y, like, oh look, there's actually 3 holiday killers, and it's a little goofy in my opinion. Anyway, I absolutely enjoyed this story. I think that Loeb and Sale did a absolutely wonderful job writing a year-long story about Batman trying to take down the mob, a specific killer, and his rogue gallery of supervillains. I recommend it to anyone who can find it out there. If you have a subscription like Comic Zone or something like that, you could probably get it for free. But it's worth buying it if you stumble upon it in the wild. Because of this story, I'm actually very interested in reading more of Batman comics, and especially graphic novels in general. Maybe of the superhero variety. If you have any good suggestions out there, leave a comment below. I would love to hear from you, and would love some of those great suggestions that are especially similar to The Long Halloween. I know that my local library has a copy of Year One, which I've heard more great things about. So I think I might check that out next. Hopefully more great things are thrown my way. Don't forget to leave a comment. Also, like, share, and subscribe so that we can get the message of Batman out to the masses. Until then, I wish you the best of luck in your weird and superhero-y travels. Farewell.